Good morning. This is Thursday, March 31st, and we're going to be doing a special severe weather daily weather briefing today as we talk about the severe weather event that could be taking place this afternoon, this evening in the mid-south here. So let's go ahead and get started so we can talk about the weather. Let's look at our current weather conditions at this time. I'm going to make this very quick. Over the western portion of the United States and Intermountain West, generally pretty much clear skies. There's some scattered showers and some snow showers left over from an upper level low that's still sitting out here, a remnant of the main low that pushed out into the central plains. Yesterday we had a strong storm system in the central plains now push into the upper Midwest with a double barrel surface low located around Davenport, Iowa here, with the trailing cold front all the way back into Texas. Out in front of that is a pretty large warm sector with scattered showers and thunderstorms extending all the way from the Great Lakes down to the Gulf of Mexico. We have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect right now for parts of Kentucky, Tennessee, and Arkansas, and then a tornado watch in effect for a small portion of Mississippi, Alabama, and the panhandle of Florida at this point. And then showers extend all the way up towards Maine, where temperatures have moderated there quite nicely over the last several days. And then we have a polar front that's now coming in from Canada here with a strong upper level system that's coming out of Canada. That'll bring in some much cooler temperatures later on in the week, but we're not going to discuss that today. We're going to focus mostly on severe weather today. So let's look at our current watch warning map. Not a lot going out here in the west, much more just some scattered winter weather advisories, some high wind watches out here in South Dakota and North Dakota. Mostly flash flood watches and flash flood warnings out here in the mid-south here, and there's a tornado watch as we see in effect for portions of Alabama and the extreme eastern portion of Florida, and then there's that severe thunderstorm watch. Severe thunderstorm warning is currently in effect for just the eastern portion of Little Rock there. So, and then there's some other advisories up here in the northeast. Looking at the satellite in the eastern part of the United States, you can see the strong storm system. You know, it's not as powerful as last week's storm system that moved in that area. It's just got a broader warm sector. It's still pretty strong, but not quite as wound up as the other storm, as the upper level support's not quite as wound up. But we have a frontal boundary that's pretty much extending from around Muskegon, Michigan, all the way down to just about Poplar Bluff, Missouri, to Little Rock, down to Tyler, back into San Antonio. You can see that kind of broken line there of the main cold front. And out ahead of that is a lot of clouds, showers and thunderstorms. There are pockets of breaks in clouds, and that's going to be significant for later today in those areas when it comes to severe weather. Looking at the western portion of the United States, we still see some lagging behind of that upper level system here, especially over the southwest here. We have an upper level low out here that's kind of formed, and a pretty strong jet that's beginning to kick up out here, and that's where my concern is for later today, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes when it comes to the severe weather. Otherwise, pretty much clear skies from Washington all the way down to California into most of Arizona here. Looking at the current weather radar, again, not a lot of precipitation out here in the west. Some snow and rain associated with the polar front that's coming down. Scattered thunderstorms across Illinois and portions of southern Wisconsin. And then a whole big, huge band of showers and thunderstorms that extends all the way from Michigan down towards the Gulf Coast, with some strong thunderstorms across most of Alabama at this point with some very heavy rains. But conditions have cleared up over Mississippi and Louisiana. And again, we have to watch out for that. We have some scattered severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect, but a lot of that's going to be winding down a little bit later today. So let's look at our severe weather analysis for today. And today we currently have a enhanced risk for severe thunderstorms and possible tornadoes that extends all the way from Bowling Green, Kentucky, to Memphis, to Greenville, Alabama, extending all the way to Meridian, Alabama, into Birmingham, up to Chattanooga. And then there's a larger slight risk that goes all the way up to South Bend, Indiana, to the Gulf Coast, and then a marginal risk that surrounds that area, and then general thunderstorms that extends all the way towards the northeast and most of Florida at this point in time. I think this is valid. I think, however, though, I think we might see a little bit later today they increase this area over Mississippi into a moderate risk. I really do believe there's going to be a significant tornado enhancement in that area later today, and I'm going to explain to you why I believe that's the case. Looking at the dew points, Moisture's aplenty, anywhere extending all the way from the border of Wisconsin south to the Gulf of Mexico. Looking in the areas where are mostly prime, dew points are easily in the 70s. Dew points in Alabama are a lot less, but I do expect that to increase with the low-level jet later today, so that will pose a serious threat. Front's still back here with the dry line in Texas and parts of Arkansas, so there's still quite a bit of time before these for this atmosphere to become primed. Looking at the convective available energy values here, pushing in around 15 to 1700 joules per kilogram over these areas where I think the biggest severe weather is going to be. A lot of stable air over Alabama at this point in time, so I think this area will probably be dropped into a slight risk later on today. That doesn't mean there's not going to be a significant tornado risk. I just don't think there's going to be as much widespread severe weather as I think there will be over Mississippi and portions of southern or portions of western Tennessee later today, and portions of even Louisiana. I think are going to be under the gun. Looking at the convective inhibition, not a lot of inhibition out there whatsoever. This will be easily burning off in this area later today. There is some over the Gulf of Mexico that might pose a threat along the coastal area, but that's actually well, I wouldn't call it a good thing, but a good thing when it comes to severe weather further north, because this will prevent convection from happening along the Gulf Coast, unlike last week where the convection along the Gulf Coast pretty much turned off all the severe weather above it. Looking at the lifted indices, the lifted indices are significant enough in these areas. Right now, where the potential for severe weather is, the atmosphere is not quite as unstable. It's about a -1, but back here along the frontal boundary and sitting over Louisiana, we're pushing levels between -5 and -6, and I expect that to increase to -9 later today. Looking at the shear, now this is the only thing that's kind of concerning me a little bit about the tornado potential. There's a lot of storm relative helicity sitting over Alabama at this point back into Mississippi, and I think even though we're not showing a lot here right now, we do have a strong subtropical jet excuse me, that will be coming into this the left entrance region will be coming in this area later on today with an upper level trough that's coming out of the southwest. I think that could enhance the storm relative helicity later today and tonight. So I think we'll see this increase even though it's not quite strong now. Again, this is a positively tilted trough, so this front's not going to be moving super fast today, but it will be producing quite a bit of thunderstorms lighting up across it later on today. Obviously, plenty from the Midwest all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, but it's kind of disjointed from where the instability is, and I think that's kind of our problem with these setups the last couple of days. We obviously yesterday we had a very significant tornado just north of Tulsa, which we kind of talked about that area being a prime area from Oklahoma City to Tulsa is kind of what we were thinking was going to be the biggest area for tornadoes, and that was the case with the most significant tornado in that area. However, I think we'll have a better risk of tornadoes later today across Mississippi and Louisiana, and I'll get to that in a minute here. Looking at the EHI values, plenty of EHI to the south here that's going to be flowing to the north. Values all the way down here to 3. I think we'll see that increase as time goes on, especially across these areas as the upper level jets begins to move in. Supercell composite, a lot of it's still again down here along the Gulf of Mexico, and we'll have to watch this, but especially if thunderstorms form and blow up here and they again tend to choke off the inflow up here in the northern part of the states. We'll have to see if thunderstorms get going there. If they do, then that will cause a problem down the road for our outlook. Looking at significant tornado parameters, again, these values are hovering around 1 or greater. There are some greater values up here around 2 off the Gulf Coast. Again, this air will be flowing to the north ahead of this frontal system in a strong jet that's going to be coming in here. Now, looking at 850 millibars, we have the strongest jet up here around between 60 and 70 knots up over most of a while. That's where the highest shear values are, so obviously that's extremely high. Everywhere else it's kind of nominal in the sense it's ranging from about 25 to I'd say roughly 30 to 40 knots. But I think this will be increasing throughout the day as time goes on, especially as this front moves in, and we do have some upper level energy moving in. Now, on the upper level 500 millibar winds, again, we have a strong jet moving off here with a disturbance. We have another strong jet coming in with winds up to about 120 knots, or excuse me, yeah, about 120 knots moving to the upper Midwest here. And that may cause a severe weather threat a little bit later today. Especially down here with the if you cross this and Hatch, the right rear will be coming across Evansville, Paducah, and Bowling Green, and in those areas. What we don't see here on this chart, and which is showed up at the 12Z chart, because this is a model here, is a significant subtropical jet that's coming out of the southwest here, and their winds are about 70 to 80 knots, about 500 millibars, and we will see this coming pretty much dead aim here between northern Louisiana and central and northern Mississippi, and then also central Alabama. As this hits later today and tonight, I expect that's where we're going to get the severe weather. The left entrance region will be hitting that. The low-level jet will be increasing. You've got this frontal system coming in. I think this, even though the conditions are not quite set up perfectly, I think we will hit kind of a perfect storm situation later today. We've got clearing skies in this area. I really think anywhere from Alexandria to Wisconsin, to Jackson, to Meridian, to just west of Birmingham, up to Tupelo, over to Greenville, back down to Monroe. That area is going to be the biggest area where the potential for severe weather will be. Let me just draw that on the map here so we actually can see what that looks like. I think really this area here is going to be the most significant area where we'll see tornado activity taking place at this point in time, as we have this stronger jet that's going to be coming out and coming into this area later today. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, and watch how that goes over time here. Looking at the next chart here, we're looking at the Skew Tplots, and here's the Skew Tplot currently out of Jacksonville, Mississippi. And again, I think we have a perfect scenario here. We do have a little bit of drier air beginning to punch in here in the mid-levels, which is good. It's not a smoking gun, so to speak, or a loaded gun. Technically it's not a loaded gun scenario, but it's sufficient enough. We don't have a lot of cape here, or a big cap here, so the cape, even though it's minimal right now, it will be increasing throughout the day. Right now they're showing a supercell composite index of 10.4 and a significant tornado parameter between 0 and 2. And this is early this morning. The hodograph is perfect. I think we're sitting in a situation where the conditions over Jacksonville are becoming more sufficient for severe weather. Now, looking at Lake Charles, Louisiana, this is a little bit more on the edge of things, and again, we still have kind of a loaded gun situation here, so I think the potential is there for severe thunderstorms to begin to form. We just got to get the upper level support in place. If the upper level support does not come in place, then I don't think we'll get the severe weather we're expecting. So we're really going to be relying upon that mid-level jet to increase later today. So our final summary, focus of our severe weather will be over Louisiana and Mississippi, I believe. There may be some more significant weather in Alabama, but we'll talk about that in a second. I believe we will see an upgrade in the risk over those particular areas to moderate risk later today. I'd be surprised if it's not, but it is possible we could see that happen. I think there is a potential for some long track significant tornadoes in that area there that we talked about earlier today, if that upper level jet moves into the area. If it fails to get there and we don't have that upper level support, then it won't be there, but I believe that will increase throughout the day. Alabama's atmosphere is pretty saturated. Looking at the Skew Tplot, it's extremely saturated and stable right now. It's going to take a lot of work to try and get that atmosphere reprimed. If they get clearing skies later today, that could happen. And I think right now at this point it probably should be maybe between slight and enhanced risk, but it might increase to enhanced risk if they can get some sunshine on their ground later today, if they can. If not, then I think they'll luck out again from this particular severe weather event. Okay, we'll keep you posted throughout the day. We thank you for paying attention, and we hope you have a great day.